even leading up to that horrible second eye poke. Um, you know, Leon Edwards was actually, like the commentators were saying, he was actually gradually just picking Belal apart, and he is actually doing a lot better than what I thought, because I thought that Belal would actually go in there and be quite dominating the fight, and would actually be calling his opponent like I saw him do with in his last few fights. Calling his opponent, put pressure on them, as other commentators, other podcasters have been saying. But I understand what they're saying when I've seen him fight before in the past, and just watching it, you can see he doesn't move, just stays there and starts attacking his opponent, gradually taking them to pieces, and just gradually attacking them. Cornering them. He's not moving, not being evasive at all in the octagon. But in this case, that wasn't. That didn't happen. You know, Leon Edwards had made him move around, made him follow him, and it made him track him in the octagon there. And it wasn't like a standstill fight. He actually had to track his opponent, and unfortunately, I think the first round, Edwards did mistakenly poke Belal in the eye. He did mistakenly poke Belal Muhammad in the eye. And they had to pause the fight, and then they resumed again. Then the second round, Edwards, it was a really, really nasty eye poke. I mean, the poor guy, Muhammad actually stopped. He fell on the floor, and he did cry for a little bit. He was in agony, basically. He was just in terrible agony. It was horrible, and but thankfully he posted pictures on his Twitter feed that his eye is getting better. Of course, the wound is still fresh, but no, his vision's gradually coming back. So thankfully, it's not a permanent injury. Many people in the community were reacting that they thought that the way he'd been reacting after being poked in the eye, they thought that perhaps his eyeball probably would have been hanging out, which is the reason why he was reacting and just crying. I'm not gonna bash the guy for crying. First of all, he's willing to go into a fight to compete as a fighter, a mixed martial arts athlete. So I have a lot of respect for him for doing that. It's a sport that I like. Of course, I'm not so sure that I would compete myself. So I'm not gonna bash the guy for crying, because the eyes is almost the most sensitive, one of the most sensitive organs in the body. You can't. Your life would be very, very different, very, very different without having your vision, your perfect 20/20 vision. So I do understand how and why he reacted the way he did. It's a horrible position to be in, but again, thankfully his vision is on. He's on the mend, and his eyes is getting better, and his vision is gradually coming back. But it's a really shitty situation to be in, and more to the point, on top of that, he also took this fight on at a short notice. So I posted about this fight in my Instagram feed, in my stories, and in my Instagram feed as a post. I said that I feel really bad for both these guys. Of course, more importantly for Belal Muhammad, but I feel bad for Leon Edwards, because Leon Edwards hasn't fought since 2019. So of course, he does have my sympathy as well. And of course, in this game, you want to be fighting. Of course, taking your health into account, you want to get as many fights beneath your belts as much as possible. Of course, you want to have much more wins than you do of losses. But of course, if you're going to be, if you're not going to be competing so often whilst you're still in your prime, then it feels like you're wasting your life, you're wasting your time, you're not earning any money, because in this sport, and I'm not bashing anyone in this sport, but from what I can see, especially in an organization like the UFC, okay, fine, and I could be contradicting myself here, but in MMA, from what I can see, nobody cares about you, so you really have to look after your own. You have to look after number one, look out for number one, and at some point, at some times, you probably find yourself even being very selfish. But from what I've seen, and this is just coming from a novice from the outside, you in this sport, really, you are on your own. Both inside the octagon and outside the octagon, because these guys, even once they retire, they also have to deal with certain injuries that progressively, especially with their brains, progressively will get worse over time. Although there are treatments, but I mean, the injuries themselves, the sort of damage it does to the body, your overall system will never be the same again. So for back to this fight, leading up to the serious eye poke in the second eye poke in the second round, it did seem to be a pretty good fight, entertaining fight. Wasn't really going the way that I thought it would go. I thought Belal would have just cornered Leon and just taken him apart with strikes and leg kicks and or whatnot, and that wasn't the case. But nonetheless, it was a decent fight. On top of that, I said that already, but also I will point out that Belal was happy to do a rematch, but it seems that Leon Edwards isn't really feeling the same way. I think what he wants after this now is a title fight, a UFC title fight,